Hey, welcome to the Philosophical Wednesday. And today we'll talk actually about the quite philosophical topics as usual. So we will talk about the knowledge graphs, ontologies, and the the memory systems as usual. So, and we have a lot of articles in the internet, practically the medium full of it, and all other things are full of it. That build the graphs from unstructured data and all other things. And first of all, I believe that when you just build the knowledge graph with the LLM without any kind of constraints and ontologies, you will get the garbage. I already checked it on my own experience. So if you want to understand more, I have the article about it. You could read it. So we definitely need the ontology to drive the graph construction and validation and all other things. I told you even more that if you work in a personal artificial intelligence space, probably you need something complex. You need not just ontology, you need the process of ontology extraction. But when people say that you extracting the data from unstructured data, they actually lie, and I heavily disagree. Because when we try to process the human language, it's structured data. But the challenge is that it's complex structure that have the complex relations, and it's the challenge. And it's not new problem. People work on it for the decades. We have the computational linguistic, the linguistic people, and all the things. And even when I was young and take the decision uh, to which of the direction in the university go, I had this applied linguistic options, but I decided that it doesn't make sense. And for me, all these embedded systems and all this hardware was more interesting. And right now, I'm regret because I really see how the linguistics actually make a lot of things happen. And so the linguistic are super cool domain. And we not working with the unstructured data. We have a lot of layers, and we have a lot of so the language is this complex multi-layer graphs, and we even have all this as a paper somewhere. But first of all, you start from the syntax. Yeah, so you have the sentences, you have some meaningful context, splitted blocks, and all other things. And it's a huge domain, by the way, to understand where to split the chunks properly, because then you could produce the embeddings that really capture the context, right? So it's a big topic. So the syntax, the splitting, and all of the thing, yeah, for sure. Then for sure you have the semantics, and semantics is a huge actually domain, and we have a lot of different semantics. Actually, the grammar could also drive the semantic. We have the structural semantic, we have the frame semantic, and frame semantic is quite interesting for me uh, for the property graphs and all those things. And I really believe in frames, and we have much more semantic things. And I also believe that if you talk about the neuroscience, that we don't have this encyclopedic semantics, right? We could, because in semantics we fight for meaning, and but I observed that meaning, first of all, one word could have a lot of different meanings, and it's really depend on the context, but it also depends on the dynamic and causality and the situation. And so it means that it depends what you're going to do. So your brain even retrieve the memory action driven, and even activate some regions of the brain depending on the action and all of things. So the semantic is a huge domain that fight for meaning. But what we could not ignore, that meaning are more dynamical. And then we jump to the most complex thing. the pragmatics, right? And pragmatics actually, it's even more complex because pragmatics bring the context to the game, and it's all these things about the metaphors and all the things, and it's really get the meaning or change the meaning depending on the context, and it's a huge domain in the linguistic, and we need to distinguish between the natural language processing and natural language understanding. And on my humble opinion, we quite far from understanding even with the LLMs. And if you're talking about finding the meaning, we could say that somewhere we have the knowledge base of this meaning because we have the frame net and all other things that people really make the corpus of the worlds with the possible meanings and examples and all other things. So maybe we could rely on this. And I believe that understanding of the linguistics, understanding of the neuroscience, understanding of the cultural constraints on the language, it really could help us to move forward from processing to the understanding. And when people say that they build in the graph from structured data, they are wrong. It's structured, but um, the structure, it's super complex, and you know it's not a new idea. In the 70s, people had this idea, and they played a lot with the prologue, with the reverse parsers and all of the things. And what they failed when they tried to apply the formal structure to the linguistics, and formal language and formal logic to the linguistics, and so on, that unfortunately, and I'm not the exception, we all talk broken language, but we are still able to make the inference out of it because we have the full reasoning power in our brain. So when you try to, you know, do some grammar analysis and extract some things, and you expect some structures in a sentences, then you will get the guy who just speak broken English. And majority of the people, if they not working on the BBC, use this broken language, and then you have a lot of deviations and all the things. So then your formal logic gets extremely complex because it needs to take to the account all these possible combinations. And we need to talk with the applied linguists how to tackle this, to be honest. But my main message that we have this distinction between the natural language processing and natural language understanding, and doing the understanding for the memory. It's a big topic itself. Yes, and I really believe that the part of our answers that we fighting for a long time really lie in a space of linguistics and semantics and pragmatics. Yeah, and for me, the meaning is still the thing, but we need to take to the account that this meaning is more casual and dynamic than we think, and we could not rely on this fixed encyclopedic knowledge and fixed encyclopedic semantics because it simply didn't fly. So that was all that I was keen to share with you. See you next time. Choose.